Hi, I'm Josh Cadillac, and welcome to my podcast, Know Your Shit. I've been blessed to see great success, as well as seeing the bottom up close and personal in 2008. And if there's one lesson I've learned, is that if you want to have success and differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, you need to know your shit. As a successful real estate and crypto investor and an educator, it drives me insane that people do not immerse themselves in their craft. Everyone is so busy advertising and testing new sales techniques, they forget the most important thing, the product. Here I want to talk to the folks that got this right, the most successful people in the world in every industry. Bring them to you and find out what they learned in their business that made it great. When you listen to my podcast, you will know for sure that the topics and experts we have on have one thing in common. They know their shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to excellence. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat today, and as we strive to learn how to stop doing deals and start closing for life. We got a great show for you today. Without further ado, let me introduce a good friend of mine, a rock star in the real estate industry. This guy took and came from nothing and made something and has made a huge something for himself. As I said, a good personal friend, Jesus Castanon. Thank you for coming on, my friend.
Cadillac, it's a damn honor. By the way, I love the title. It almost seems like I created the title. But yeah, man, listen, it's an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to it. It's man, I can't wait. You said you had some questions. I can't wait for these questions.
All right, so let's start. I always like to start by going backwards. So where did all of this success start for you? I mean, I know you've reached a place now where you've accomplished a lot. And I know the genesis of this wasn't the beginning. So take us back to the beginning. Where did it come from?
So as a kid, I wanted to be a basketball player. All right. That was my dream. I was an extremely hard worker. I guess genetically, I didn't have what it takes. But I tell you that basketball, sports, and that's one thing. And I'm not here to give anybody parenting advice, but it's sports for a kid. It teaches you hard work. It teaches you dedication. It teaches you success, and it teaches you failure. It's what's that book, Cadillac, we were talking about the other day that says that kids' minds need
the coddling of the American mind. Yeah.
Coddling of the American mind, right? A child's brain needs adversity in order to develop correctly. Okay. To develop, to fully develop. So if you spend your whole entire life with everything going right and with no adversity, the issue is, I mean, the good news is that I grew up, pretty damn poor. So there was the natural, everyday adversity, not having clothes. One of the most important, I would call moments of my life was just, people making fun of me because I was wearing the same clothes every day, or there was a blue pair of Pumas that had a huge hole in them. And I remember I got in fights for pants. I got in fights for shoes. I was constantly fighting for that. I remember I beat the shit. I can say shit because your podcast is shit. It says, I know your shit. I know your shit. So I beat the shit out of two guys for making fun of my shoes. You know what I mean? So it was that constant stuff. So adversity. Not having enough money. Built. I think that sports gave me the opportunity to at least think and to make a reality in my brain that I was going to have millions of dollars, right? It was the vehicle to show me that, hey man, you're gonna have millions. So as you spend your whole childhood thinking you're gonna be a millionaire basketball player, and then all of a sudden, holy shit, I'm not a millionaire basketball player. You scramble real quickly to figure out how else am I gonna have all of those things that I was gonna have. So, but basketball still, the way life is, man. Basketball was still my vehicle. There was a front door neighbor that I played basketball with on a regular basis. He would use me he was an older guy. He would use me to get his workouts. I was a, prime, college level athlete. And I would go play one-on-one with him, and he owned a real estate company, and he would, tell me everything about real estate and how I could make millions in real estate, how I could have my own schedule, how I could make millions, how the harder I worked, the more money I made. And yeah, I got into real estate pretty much straight out of high school. So basketball still gave me my vehicle. If it wasn't for basketball.
So between the pressure of knowing you didn't want to stay where you were, you didn't like,
It wasn't kind of like it just wasn't a fucking option.
and then the exposure of the competitive nature of basketball, learning to win, learning to lose, and pick yourself up and keep going forward. All of this sets up, and then obviously the icing on the cake, playing one-on-one with a real estate guy, singing the praises of real estate to you. It seems like it planted a seed.
It was everything. And I haven't called him in a while, but I've called him, several times to thank him, because it was exactly what I needed. It was, one vehicle came to an abrupt end. It was almost a crash. It crashed. My basketball ship crashed into the reef, and sunk. And I had another vehicle that I could put all my hard work and all my dedication into, and build the life that I want, you know what I mean? And have the things that I wanted, so, one interesting thing is that, I never really got into real estate to be the best realtor. Having a real estate company was always goal number one from day number one. So it's not like I said, oh, I'm going to be the best realtor in the world, and then, maybe one day I'll open a company. It was like, I'll go from shitty realtor to company if I have to. I ended up being a pretty damn good realtor. But the passion has always been, it's almost like, in the United States, it's one of the only countries that, you don't get a degree for coaching. So in Cuba and Russia, to be a coach, it's a career. It's not like here that, well, you could do it part-time, and,
other stuff didn't work out. And
I'm talking about a youth coach, right? So
yeah.
if you want to be a youth coach, you want to have a youth club. It's not really a career. So over there, you get a degree in physical education. You get a degree, they cover psychology. They do all that kind of stuff. So it's very similar to mine, and my son's a wrestler. So I'm always learning stuff from different coaches and everything like that. I'm absorbing the sport. I've learned more about that sport than, in the last 6 years than I ever would have imagined. So yeah, you get coaches that were never even athletes. Some of the best coaches were never even athletes. They were just, they dabbled in the sport. They liked the sport, and they went straight into coaching. It happens a lot with the NFL and the NBA. If being a great player meant necessarily you're going to be a good coach, Michael Jordan would be the best coach in the world right now.
Yeah, no, it's two separate skill sets. It really is. And so maybe that leads us into this next question. What is it about what that creates the edge that you have, that allows you to be successful? Where do you think your edge comes from?
My edge personally?
Yeah. What do you think gives you an edge that gives you an edge in your business that makes you, while so many people have started out to do what you've done, there's so many shops that are 20 agent shops. You have 500 agents now that you've built 3 different locations or more at this point.
They'll coming, hopefully. So, I would say that, and this is, I don't know if I've ever said this, but, it's, when I was young, I got arrested. I got arrested a couple of times. Right. I got a cultivation of marijuana charge. I got 100 plants. I was 18. Right. I've been in, I don't know, over 100 fist fights. I got almost every bone in my body pretty much broken from, head, my mouth, my arm, from fights. I just had no other option. Right. So I have a horrible problem with authority. Okay. I got fired from my first 2 jobs, which was landscaping and at a Pep Boys, for threatening the manager for not talking to me in a not very nice way. So I had a horrible problem with authority. So the only person that could manage me was myself. Okay. I had a little bit of a criminal record situation in my youth, so it was hard to go and get a job anyway. Not that I ever wanted to, but I don't think I had another choice, to be honest with you. Kind of like real estate was the choice, and
So would you say it was almost a position that you didn't have the choice to fail because you didn't see that there were no other options?
there was absolutely, in my mind, I literally never saw another option, and
And I love that.
that's the issue I have with realtors all the time. I tell them, hey, and I give them a real fucked up example, right? So I got these realtors here that tell me, oh, but I don't want to leave my job, because I'm not sure I can make it in this business, and like that lack of self-confidence is amazing to me, right? And you know how it is, my buddy Serge says that, buy the coffee machine and then figure out, how to make the coffee later on, or something like that, like you jump and then you figure it out later on. Of course, nobody taught me how to open up a real estate company. I didn't have, a school that I went to and taught me this stuff. You open it up and you figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you get your ass kicked. You learn it by getting your fucking ass kicked. I mean, that's just basically what it comes down to. So, I tell these realtors all the time, I'm like, hey, you have kids? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So if I tell you that I'm going to kill your entire family, okay. And I use this example a lot, and, freaks people out sometimes. And sometimes they really register. I have a girl right here in the office right now that it registered, and she's working harder than ever. If I kill your family, if I tell you I'm going to kill your family within the next 60 days, if you don't succeed in this business, right? I'm literally going to, you got to put yourself there for a second. I'm going to go and I'm going to torture and I'm going to kill your family. I add torture into it too, by the way. Would you be able to close 5 deals within the next, 60 days? Oh, of course. Oh, no fucking shit. Of course, huh? So you can't.
What's holding you back?
No. So you can do it. So your confidence went from none to absolutely, I'm going to do it. Okay. So hold on for a second. Hold on for a fucking second here. Okay. What changes? What changes? What time do you wake up in the morning? Right? On a Friday afternoon, are you going to get drunk or are you going to hit the motherfucking phones? Right? Yep. What are you doing on the weekends? Mm-hmm. Are you going to have a life other than real estate for the next 60 days? No. This is it. Oh, interesting. Yep. So what happens when you absolutely have to do it and you have to succeed because your life depends on it, your family's life depends on it, right? You got to do it. You will do it because you have to do it. And that's the mindset. I don't know maybe we come up with a cute name right now, but is it the murder mindset? Is it the torture mindset? But that's the mindset. The mindset that you need to succeed in real estate is I have no other choice. The Napoleon, I burnt my ships. I got to the island and I told my soldiers, you either burn the ships because you either win here or you die here. Okay. Yep. That's the options. That's how you succeed. Right?
And so you mentally take away the other options from yourself. And that's huge because people love to hedge their bets, love to give a half effort so that they can always sit back and say, well, I didn't make it, but I didn't give it my all, because if they gave it their all and they fail, that makes them a failure. And so by holding something back, it gives people the place to go to give themselves the little excuse that, well, yeah, people want to halfway go into something and want to succeed. And when they don't get it, it lets them have that emotional past that it's not really a reflection on them. It just didn't work out. And so, people use these floats, and I agree with you 100%, man. You're absolutely right. People use the floats of, oh, people were mean to me. They didn't like me because I look a certain way, or I'm this or that. It doesn't matter.
If your life depends on it, it doesn't matter. So if you're a general in a war, you got 100 soldiers. You got an island, or you got a battlefield, right? Island is a nightmare. Best soldiers in the world. Right, you're gonna get your ass kicked, and you tell these soldiers, hey, let's try out this very difficult island for a second, okay? And if not, we'll just get on our boats and we'll go to that easier one, okay? Every human is going to pick the easier one.
Absolutely.
So you don't give yourself a fucking easier one. You don't say, well, I'm going to try real estate, but if not, I'm going to do insurance. Or I'm going to try real estate. If not, I'm going to go get this job. No, I'm going to try real estate and I'm going to succeed in real estate no matter what, because there is no other option. I'll live under a motherfucking bridge if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
The only time, and it was during the 2008 crash, where things got so bad that I was literally, I went from having one of the bigger companies in the state of Florida to like rationing out my food. That's how bad it got in 2008, right? The only option I gave myself was, hey, you know what? I had a buddy of mine who needed a bouncer for a club, right? And that's the only time I said I'm going to do anything else other than real estate. And the only reason I was okay with that is because I figured that's going to be easy, might even be a little bit fun, right? And it's not going to interfere with my real estate schedule. I might be a little tired in the morning, but that's about it, right? I never gave myself another option. And that's why my company is better and stronger after the worst real estate collapse in the history of real estate that absolutely kicked my ass. I always say, if I didn't die of a heart attack during 2008, 9, and 10, I'm just not going to die of a heart attack. You know what I'm saying?
Cardiovascular certainty has been achieved. Yeah, your cardiovascular state has been that's the ultimate stress test. I don't need a treadmill. I'm good.
I mean, it went from flying my own plane that I got myself a pilot's license, right? I flew my own plane to my offices in Tampa and Orlando and Palm Harbor, Florida. I mean, I was flying to 3 or 4 different offices in a day in my own plane. I went from there to rationing out food within a couple of years.
Yep.
Right. So you know what that does to your confidence? You know what that does to your psychology?
Sure.
So my theory of this is my only option was tested twice. It was at the beginning of my career when I gave myself no other option. And then when I lost everything, and then I had my pussy friends that went and got the easy job and took the easy route that were doing better than me. So I was dead broke and they were with their cush easy. They went the easy route, right? With the easy job and the no matter, everything's relaxed. And when I was working my ass off, they were taking the easy route. And now I gotta go look at those guys doing better than me, right? Because I did things right and I sacrificed. Talk about,
it's rough.
Dagger to the heart. So talk about trying to pick yourself up again and start all over again. Start suffering all over again. Reteach yourself all of those things where there's no other option. The ships are burnt. There's no other way to go, right? I mean,
it's one of my favorite stories is the story of the Marines at Guadalcanal when there was no naval superiority by the Americans. They dropped the Marines in Guadalcanal and then the Navy took off. The Navy was supposed to stay and support them. They left these Marines all by themselves and the Marines were outnumbered, I think, like 8-1 or something like that. So what did they do? They didn't have any food. They took the island. They took the island from the Japanese. They got the food they needed by stealing the food from they took the airfields. They won because they didn't have a choice. They kept taking ground. And so there is that place.
Business or definitely real estate. I don't know about succeeding in any other business, but I can tell you what, I've trained hundreds of realtors. The ones that succeed are the ones that they're not like, well, let me try this for a little bit. Any person that says, I'm going to try this for a little bit, every person who quits their job and comes into real estate, I can't think of one that hasn't made it because they got no choice. You know what I mean? Like if you do it, you're not going to give yourself a choice. You're going to have to succeed. That's, you know what? We could write a book and it could have 1 page with writing and the other page is empty. 300 fucking pages. One of them says, don't give yourself another option. And that's it.
Yeah.
You're done. You're done. Look over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, people are very, very scared to give 100% because if you give 100% and you fail, it says a lot about you. And people aren't willing to make that kind of commitment. They're not willing to own that they gave their best and they fell short. I can tell you, even in my own life, I know there's instances where, the times that I did give my best and it didn't work out, that's a lot harder to take than it is when you haven't. So that's a really good point. So let me ask you a question. This is going to be a little bit different look at this. That's what gives you the edge, the idea that, hey, look, there is no other choice. What makes you good at what you do? Because your job is not just simply taking and running the company and being the spearhead and driving this thing. It's also taking it and taking agents. I know you recruit a lot of agents And one of the reasons why I love your office and the way you do things is you spend a lot of time with your agents and you try to take and get the most out of it. So what do you think it is that makes you good at doing the full scope of what has become chief in charge of Real Estate Empire?
Well, yeah. So I'm to the point right now where there's two things I don't delegate, right? We're a big enough company right now that I can literally delegate everything, right? There's a couple things I don't delegate. I don't delegate the first interview with the agent. Okay. As soon as the agent meets with our recruiter, has agreed on all the terms and everything like that, they meet with me and they have a get started meeting and we talk about their career and how we're going to have them succeed. And right now, I mean, my day today is really just recruiting. I'm back on recruiting mode, so it's what to answer your question. And I was about to veer off there, but what to answer your question, I just, like I tell my agents, there's nobody that cares about your career. I mean, maybe your mom or your dad, right? Maybe your husband. I mean, maybe very, very close family. Nobody cares about your career more than I do, right? And that's why I stay involved. So, back to what I do right now, I'll recruit them, get started meeting where we create a game plan on what it's going to take for them to succeed based on their particular set of skills, right? If they're an accounting person, maybe I'll leer more towards like financing and using financing as a tool to get more clients. If they're like an attorney, I have no bullshit, man. I must have 50 attorneys from different countries in my office. So, we'll go a different direction, but I stay with them. So the reason why I think that we're so good, and I'm so good at what I do is because I care. I care about their career, and if I match and beat their effort, right? If they don't give a shit, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't give a shit either. But the people that care, man, I've had people that it's taken a year to take off, a year. I had a girl right now made like 60 grand in rents, clean houses. That was her job. Cleans houses for a living, right? Closed like $60,000 worth of commission in rents, which is a lot of rents. Might be 50 rents, right? And now she just closed her first deal. She's working on her second. It took me a year to get that girl off the ground. It took me a year. It took me a fucking year of just sticking with her and working with her and everything like that. The answer is because I care. The way I grow my company is to get good people here that work hard. I just care. I just care. I really do care about their career, and I really do. The ones that care, I really like. I wake up in the morning and I worry about making sure that they make money and that they have the tools. And let me tell you, I'm available 7 days a week for my agents. That sounds really fucking cute on paper. Okay.
Yeah. No, I know.
It slides off the tongue. It's a hell of a. We could do a fucking commercial right now on how broker available 7 days a week for your agent, brother. Friday night you're on. You gotten your ass kicked all week. Okay, you just sat down, prepared yourself a lobster and a steak, or sat down at a restaurant with a badass lobster and a steak. First drink. You're not a drinker, but I am. That first drink comes in. It goes down your esophagus, so it feels amazing. You're like, oh my God, that's it. Week is over. Boom, phone call comes in. Huge agent with a huge issue, right? Mm-hmm. And not many people answer that call. I do.
I know.
I do because I know how hard that agent has probably worked, since I do know them all on a one-on-one basis. I know how hard that agent has worked to get to that deal, right? To get to that moment. And if I give them 10, 15, 20 minutes of their time, dude, last month, we're in the Palisades in Lake Tahoe, in the snow, with my a bunch of friends and the kids and everything, skiing and everything. I was at a bar with a drink, snowing outside because it doesn't get any cooler in an environment. Agent came in with called me with a huge issue. I took 20 minutes out of my time. I had to go outside, but not really outside because it was freezing outside. I had to go in that door path that's like outside, but not outside when it's really cold. That little area there where, you could stay alive, but Yeah. And I spent 20 minutes on the phone. She was getting issues with some agent was threatening her on something she did wrong, but she didn't really do anything wrong. And I had to calm her down and don't worry about it. I got you. I got my attorney on the phone, blah, 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 blah. Right. Because Because I fucking care, bro. Because you know what? You don't do that if you don't care. I
And
mean,
that's what I love, because you know the you have the rough edges that we know that makes you Jesus, man.
very rough.
And everybody, you know, thinks that there's this. It's not the case, but in reality, as big a tough guy as you are, you have a bigger heart besides, and that's the important thing, I think, for people to recognize. One doesn't preclude the other. You have to. I don't care how big and tough you are. You got to care about what you do. It's got to be personal. It's got to matter. And I know for you, all of this, all that you do is very personal to you, and you do it like it really matters. And the reason why you do it like it really matters is because it actually does. And so that's great stuff. That's great stuff. So, how about this? Let's take like a 10,000-foot view for just a second. Looking back the whole ride, what are the most important things you've learned in the process of doing what you do? What are the big lessons? You know, like you said, there was no rule book. There was no instruction. There was no course on, hey, this is how to be a great broker. So, I mean, what you said there were all these lessons that you had to learn the hard way, sort of along the way. What are one or two that maybe stand out to you as, man, these really changed things for me?
Yeah, I would have to be. So I graduated high school with a. So again, you guys got to understand, like, you know, I have to go back to question one for a little bit, right? So I explained to you how much basketball meant to me, right? It was everything. It was everything to me. So imagine I couldn't play 2 of my years because I didn't have grades. I couldn't get my grade point average over a 1.5 GPA. I couldn't get over a 1.5 GPA. So I am horrendous at school, at learning. Never got tested for a learning disability. I mean, right now everybody has ADHD or whatever the hell you call it, and everybody has a learning disability and the whole situation, right? I just couldn't. I couldn't take off in school. I couldn't do it. I just didn't give a shit, to be honest with you. You know, I cared about basketball. I couldn't even care enough to get my grades up, right? So the answer is I educated myself, right? I've read not more books than you, that's for sure. Okay. And to let everybody know, my boy Cadillac here has read thousands of books. Cadillac, I know you're not going to want to do this, but this is my interview. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Cadillac, please pull out your phone. You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Put on there how you listen to your books. So Cadillac's read so many books, and he wants to read so many other books that it's not efficient enough to read it at a regular what speed of language, I guess. So he has to listen to it at this speed right here, Cadillac. You know, so this is how. Are you ready for it or no?
Yeah.
This is how Cadillac listens to his audiobook.
A PDF of additional material accompanies this program. Simon & Schuster Audio presents Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. Why Nations Succeed and Fail.
Yep. That's
so how we would listen to a book at regular speed, he has to listen to it at warp speed so he could get, you know, those thousands of books in. So not him, that's black belt level, but hey man, he's a coral belt, and you know, jiu-jitsu, you know, coral belt has been a black belt for 20 years. So so you know, I'm a black belt in that, you know, as far as educating myself. So what does that mean? I absolutely felt necessary that I needed to become an excellent negotiator. Okay, so I made myself an absolute negotiator. I taught myself how to read, you know, people's body language. You know, which has been huge. The book How to Win Friends and Influence People taught me how to deal with difficult people. So yeah, I'm not telling you I don't hang up on people and tell them to go fuck themselves. I do it all the time. I do it with attorneys all the time because they need to be put in their place a lot of times, right? But I know what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it, right? So that's a whole different story. I'm not necessarily completely losing my temper. I just particularly think that person needs to be put in their place and understand that I'm not playing by their rules, right? But How to Win Friends and Influence People absolutely is a book that if you don't read it, you are working at half the potential that you have right now. It is in between you and every successful venture, between you and everything that's worth it, there's going to be a difficult person in the way. There's going to be somebody who's going to try to screw you over. in the deals, there's been deals that I've made millions of dollars, right? Like deals that I'm like, man, if I get this deal done, it's gonna make me millions of dollars. And I've had a couple of those that have been like, wow, you know what? This got me to that other side where millions of dollars worth of commission has come in. And I wouldn't have been able to do it with that book because every single one of those opportunities had a very, very difficult person there. You know what I mean?
It's amazing how many of them there are. Difficult people are everywhere.
Yeah. And you're dealing with, in my world, you're out there to get a listing, or you're out there to deal, to work a deal with a couple, with a married couple. You got to be able to negotiate with that couple. Negotiate sometimes means that you're negotiating for their own well-being, right? So,
yeah.
They want to put a stupid offer on a property, and that this is the right property for them, and they don't put the offer because they don't listen to you. You're doing them a disservice. So you got to explain to them why that property is the right property for them, why that property has all the potential in the world. So you have a husband and wife next to each other, right? You got to know that husband and wife who is, when you say something, is one of them leaning forward and one of them leaning back, one of them is crossing their arms, one of them arms are open, their eyes are pointing up, their arms are pointing down. I mean, you got to start reading that stuff to know if what you're saying is resonating. Kind of like, and you have body language in your ACE courses, right? So if you're talking to somebody and they say yes, they verbally say yes, but they lean back, scrunch up a little bit and cross their arms.
You just got told no. You just lost them. Yeah.
Right. So they said yes. Right. So if you and I that are educated in this art of body language enough to understand this, right? So you go ahead and you leave there thinking you got a yes, but I won't leave there until I get the real yes. Right. Yep. So who wins? Right. So I educated myself. What was the question again?
The question is, what things have you learned in the process that you think have made the biggest difference for you? What are the things
it's that I learned that if I don't self-educate, if I don't get myself educated, there's nothing. I'm not going to go to college. Forget about that. That was never an option for me. Right. So if I don't educate myself, okay, who's going to do it? If I can't, I need to be able. And I remember, so when I first started, this is something like psychologically. So when I played basketball, the worst neighborhoods were the best competition. So I would wake up in the morning, I would get on a bus, and I would go to the absolute worst neighborhoods in Miami. I mean, the ones that, I saw dead people, I saw a dead person on an actual basketball court one time. I would, drive by and people would be shooting at bus benches. I mean, it was war zones that I would, purposely put myself in because it was the best basketball competition. So when I got into real estate, believe it or not, I grew up in a trailer park. I would bust myself to the hood. That's where I felt comfortable doing real estate. I felt comfortable doing real estate and knocking on doors on the worst of the worst neighborhoods. Not really a recipe for success as a realtor.
Got to do a lot of volume in those neighborhoods in order to have any kind of success.
You better sell a lot of volume, right? And if you don't get killed in the process, right? So I had to educate myself out of that. I had to educate myself to the point where I could sit in a room full of millionaires and billionaires and successful developers that I did. So it got to the point where, I went from terrified of dealing with a millionaire, right? I couldn't even imagine oh my God, dealing with that guy, successful businessman, to the point where that's pretty much all you want to deal with. So I always call it dragging myself out of the trailer park, right? That's the way I dragged my way out of the trailer park, right? It's educating myself to the point where I'm like, okay, now I got to get myself into the meeting, right? And then I got to be like, all right, well, dude, I actually just killed it in this meeting.
Yeah. How do I prove to myself that I belong here? Kind of undoing the self-limiting beliefs, like the stuff that we believe that isn't actually true, but keeps us from, like if you believe the water is scalding hot, well, I'm just not going to put my foot in there. And so, that actually finding out, hey, look, the water's not that hot. And you know what? I can swim here. I'm okay here. And
you
it's
know,
important.
and kind of like you and I go talk to these kids, and these underprivileged kids. We go to these high schools, and we talk to these kids, and these entrepreneurial programs. I'm also part of an association, the Little Abner Foundation, where we help kids that are underprivileged kids and everything like that. The best gift I could give one of these kids is, hey, buddy, you don't have to stay poor. You know what I mean? You just don't. You know how you do it? You educate yourself out of it. You become an excellent negotiator. You become, reading people, understanding people. Guys, let me tell you a secret. Every business is about understanding people. Every business is about reading people. There's no such thing as a business that you don't go into a room and you got to figure out who's who and who's on your side and who's not. That's everything in business. Any business, that's what it is. So how do you educate yourself to be the best communicator possible? Okay. How do you educate yourself to a point where you feel just as comfortable, in your regular environment that as you do in a room full of the most successful developers? And that's the way I got myself to that point where I'm like, in these meetings I remember the feeling, I'm like, they call it the imposter feeling, the imposter syndrome, right? How do you, the Bahamas, I had an office in the Bahamas for 4 years, right? Ran one of the most successful developments in the history of the Bahamas. Okay. People that are showing up there, I was having meetings in 130-foot yachts with, I'm going to call them servants. I don't even know if that's the right way to call them anymore, but I remember there was one meeting, I was on a 130-foot yacht. It was a Mexican gas station owner, owned hundreds of gas stations. And I was sitting there, and that was the one that, I'm sitting there in that yacht with people just literally waiting for my glass to get not even like past the middle to fill it up again. And, fancy hors d'oeuvres being, and staring, we're in a marina staring at a casino that I helped build, right? That I helped that development raise enough capital to be able to build it, right? Holy shit. Talk about taking yourself from out of a trailer park to that situation right there. I had a lot of those meetings, but I remember the one that was like, oh, dude, wait a second here. What the hell's going on? I'm here sitting down wearing linens. You know what I'm saying? Wearing pastel. How did I get myself to wearing all the way over here to wearing pastel linens on a 130-foot yacht? Having these meetings. You know what I mean? Making millions of dollars in commission. How do you do that? Right?
Yeah.
You got to want it, and you got to educate yourself. You got to worry about yourself. There's no university that's really going to care about what you actually learn, right? And what's actually going to,
I think that's a really important idea, because what you're talking about is you redefined yourself to yourself. In that moment, you're like, now wait a second. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm this guy, and I deserve to be here. I helped build that over there, and I should be here, and I deserve to be at this meeting. And it's getting yourself to buy into those ideas, because a lot of times for us, I know there's been a bunch of different things and different jobs I've done, different work that I've done in my life, where on the way in, I wasn't sure the full scope of what had to happen. And honestly, if I knew what the full scope of what I was getting myself into, I probably never would have done it. But then looking back in retrospect and all that got done, and then I was the one that did it, it's kind of like, holy hell, I didn't even know that was in there. Like, man, I wanted it to be good, but my God, it's more like, that's the top end of this business. The 130-foot yacht, looking at the casino you just built, that's the elite of the business. And, I know you, and I know you pretty well. Convincing yourself that the person that couldn't make the grades for basketball was that guy and deserved to be there, that had to be a really awesome moment for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't, that was one of the times, but there was several other positions that you're like, dude, you know what, man, this is cool. Like, holy shit, I did it. Shit, I did it. And let me tell you something. I did it once, and right before the crash. So I did it once before the crash. I started the company in 2001. So 2008, the world fell apart, right? So convincing yourself you can do it again, and then saying, holy shit, I did it again.
Yeah.
Cool too.
Hey, maybe I am a winner. holy hell, maybe I am a winner.
What? Yeah, and again, there's that such thing as an imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? The good thing about real estate is that right now that I just know the game. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That imposter syndrome has gone away because I could sit here with you for 5, 6, 10 hours, whatever, and talk about real estate. And there's really not a question that I'm not going to be able to give you my opinion on. And I'm not going to be right all the time because nobody is, but I'm going to be pretty damn close to it because I've lived and breathed and suffered and enjoyed this business for 23 years. You know what I mean? And yeah, listen, here's another thing, Cadillac. I don't know if you're gonna ask this question or not, but I'll ask myself the question. Okay, well, you've gotten here now. Where do you go? Right?
Yes.
And I talk to my realtors all the time. Like, hey, you have your goals as realtors, right? I have my goal as a company. I will be the biggest. I will be the biggest real estate company in South Florida. I will absolutely 100% be the biggest one. Am I going to compete with the Berkshire Hathaways and these guys? I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about homegrown, independently owned. And by the way, listen, you want to talk about like moment of, I have had every big franchise show up to my office. I think I told you about the most recent one the other day. I think I did. These guys are showing up at my office right now.
Yep.
These guys are literally, their business development people are showing up unannounced because I'm ignoring their other request, right? Showing up in my office saying, hey, we want you to become a franchise. The answer is absolutely no, fuck you. Where were you 20 years ago when I was, suffering through this, right?
When I needed you.
Right,
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's another point where you're like, it's dude, now they want me to join their club. No, join my club because I'm the one growing. Right.
I want to circle back to something you said, and it's kind of in my mind. It kind of ties together with what you say to new agents and all. And I think it's an important idea. The first thing is convincing yourself to work as hard as you can, right? To really put in all that you can. And that's step one, is convincing yourself to go all in. And then the second part is kind of what we were talking about just a little bit ago, that after you've done all this hard work and you've worked for time, convincing yourself that you deserve, that you earned the success that you have, those moments of being there and sitting there and saying, holy shit, I actually did make it. Like, because the day to day, right? But my father used to say to me all the time, by the inch, it's a cinch, by the yard, it's hard, right? If I said, hey, look, I want to be on a 130-foot yacht looking at a casino I just helped build. Well, that seems like a really long journey, but if you put your head down and you just go in there and you kick ass every single day, you do work every single day, that's the best work you can turn in with nothing held back. What winds up happening is you look up and you're a lot further along than you thought you'd be. And it's coming to peace and actually realizing that, geez, my best is pretty damn good. The results I'm capable of pretty damn good, but it's convincing yourself to give that your best at the beginning. That seems to be, to me, kind of where this whole path started for you, was convincing yourself there were no other options and to go just full bore after it with all you've got, with nothing held back. The guy the guy that's not afraid to die in a fight is the one that's probably going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. And that actually happens. I'm an MMA fan. I mean, I live and breathe MMA just like I live and breathe real estate. My son wrestles, so I'm in it every single day. It's that guy that's going to go out there and leave it all on the mat or leave it all in the ring. That's the guy that's going to win. And it happens every time. If I have any issues with my son's ranked number 1 in the country right now. And it's kind of cool. You talk about like succeeding, you try to teach a little kid, from 4 years old, that started in the sport, how to think like a winner and how to go out there and some days he doesn't wrestle like himself, and you got to tell him, hey, if you would have wrestled like yourself, you would have won, which is the truth. So this whole journey with him and my daughter, both, she plays tennis too, and going with them and understanding like a kid, like how does a kid, it's making me a better coach as a real, because I'm understanding where these thoughts come from. You know what I'm saying? Like where the thoughts, like where do they, again, in my house, there's no easy anything. My wife is crazier than I am. You know what I mean? Like last week, I had a full-fledged argument with her. Had to get the trainer on the text chat to tell her why she should give my daughter a Friday off, and she won the argument, and she didn't have a Friday off. And I'm a pretty hardcore motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So just so you know the environment that these kids are living in my house, right? I mean, it's a competitive, hardcore, no easy lunches environment, right?
We push.
You know, yeah. So understanding that mindset and creating that mindset from kids, because I get these adults already as adults and already pretty molded, but molding a personality. And I'll call my daughter a pussy just like I call my son a fucking pussy all the time, right? I mean, there's no room for, you know, you could go out there and lose all you want, but you're going out there and you're fighting all the way to the end. And that's the same thing, you know, that is going to translate as to adulthood, right? So yeah, man, give it your all. Give
Courage.
It for real. Throw yourself out there, right? And give it your all. Give it your all. My son competed last 2 weeks ago. There's 2 Olympic styles, right? There's the Greco-Roman and there's the freestyle, right? These are the two, the ones, I don't know if you knew, you don't know this, but you know, in high school and in college, they practice folk style wrestling. So, you know, and we have to, as athletes here, they got to relearn 2 other styles to be able to compete in the Olympic, which is kind of weird. We're the only country in the world that does that, which is very crazy. Typical USA behavior, right? Typical USA behavior. So my son's going against he's going against 2 national champs. These are kids that only train Greco and freestyle. I know these kids. I know their parents. I know, they're not friends of mine, but I know who they are. And I know, I mean, so he has 2 national champ, Greco national champ in one bracket. So he has to go against 2 national champs to be able to become a regional champ. Okay.
Oh, geez.
So what do you tell a kid? What do you tell them? Right? What do you tell them? Like, what do you tell somebody that's going to go against 2 of the top in one day? He's going against the 2 top practitioners in their sport at his age group, right? What do you tell them? I'll tell you what you tell them. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. Okay. You go out there and you make it a fucking fight.
Yep.
You make it a fucking fight. That's it. That's all you do. Guess what? He beat the living shit out of both of them. You know what I'm saying? And now listen, I'm not saying it's all because of what I said, but I tell you what, it is because of the upbringing. It is because of the upbringing. It's absolutely because, you know what? There's no excuses. If somebody beats you, right? And let's not get too into politics here, but what's happening with society right now is that if somebody beats you, it's society's fault. It's everybody else's fault, right? Everybody else's fault but yours, right? Yep. My son came off the mat one time and he said, that referee sucks. I'm like, what did you just say? There's no such thing. You never give a referee an opportunity. You never give, just like we never give a politician to give an opportunity. We never give society to give an opportunity. That referee is society. It doesn't matter how bad he sucked. You shouldn't have put yourself in a situation where his influence mattered at all.
Absolutely.
Right? You go out there and you do what you got to do. And that's life. And there's no excuses. If you lost, you know what I tell him when he lost? Hey, you didn't work hard enough. You know what I told him right now when I'm walking out of the house? I literally said, hey, brother, you ain't working hard enough. These last couple of matches were way too close. Not that he lost them, but they were way too close. Right? Can't let anybody get close to you. You got to work harder. You got to step it up. This is my goodbye to him. Right? And he gave me a hug. I said, I love you. I said, I love you. And I left. But hey, that's life. Right? And this is the same thing that we do in business, man. Hey, we work harder. Hey, you didn't get the sale. You didn't work hard enough.
Yep.
You weren't prepared enough. Somebody else got that listing. Somebody else got that deal. You weren't prepared enough. Oh, they went to Harvard. I don't give a shit. You didn't work hard enough.
That's right.
Right? You didn't communicate well enough. You didn't get your point across the correct way. Right?
Excuses do nothing to help you. The only way you grow is from sitting there saying the reason it didn't happen is because of something that I did. How do I fix it and make sure that never happens again? That's it. The process of self-growth is so important. And if you, it's what drives me crazy with the system being the way that it is, where we make excuses for everything, that why we're not where we're supposed to be because of somebody else's fault. You know what? It does nothing. And one of the lines that I love most is losers blame others, winners blame themselves. And you know what? What did I do and how can I change it? There's the only person you really have any ability to take and do anything about is you. So it makes the thing that makes the most sense is for you to take and accept as much of the blame. Are you responsible for 100% of everything that goes wrong? You almost never are you 100% responsible for what happens to you in your life. But you want to know something? Jesus acts like it's my fault. Why? Because I can do something about me. I can work harder. I can train harder. I can prepare harder. Sitting there and saying, oh, well, it's because of them. That gives you a pass to sit there and say, well, you did enough. You should have gotten it. And it's because this person didn't. That's why you're not where you want to be. And it's bullshit. It's really just bullshit.
So Cadillac, let me tell you another thing you'll find super interesting. So let me tell you, so my kids have different, my son will have issues where he'll put maybe a little bit too much pressure on himself, right? And he won't wrestle himself. That's the biggest issue I have with him. If he doesn't wrestle like himself, he'll lose. Let me tell you the super interesting part of my daughter that you're going to be like, wow, this is humanity, right? My daughter will beat the shit out of a girl, right? She'll be 1 point away from winning. And she'll let the girl catch up and the girl will win. And this is an issue I've been dealing with for a year with her. It's going away. So I had to literally teach my daughter how to win. How to, like, it's okay to win. Her name's Khaleesi. Khaleesi, listen. You're one. It doesn't make any sense that you are 1 point away from beating this girl, okay? And you let the person catch up. Why are you afraid of winning? And it happens. And I see people here, believe it or not, they're afraid of success. What is success gonna mean? And this is what I'm saying. It's interesting with the whole quit the kid thing. Is it inside of us? Is it built? Are some people built with it inside? Because she's not living in a loser household where she's being taught that. So is there a biological programming built inside that people are afraid of winning?
There's also a piece with it, especially with girls. You'll see this. There's a tremendous empathy there. Like, they don't want them to feel bad because they lost. So they'll take and for us, it's like, that doesn't even enter into the programming. I know for me with my wife, it's like, she's so tenderhearted. I'm like, well, but yeah, this is what, we have to do this. What do you mean? It's not a choice. It's got, oh yeah, but how are they going to feel? Well, I guess they shouldn't be out there competing if they didn't want to feel bad. What are we going to do?
Right, so I'm standing in front of a little girl, right? And I'm telling her, Khaleesi, I need you to repeat after these words. I need you to repeat these words after me. When I am beating a girl, okay, I'm a killer. Say, Khaleesi, I'm a killer. Oh, yeah, I'm a killer. Okay. All right. This is a sweet little girl. Okay. Wearing little pigtails and a pink dress. Okay. And a pink little tennis dress. When I have somebody on the ground, I'm going to step on their throat and I'm going to finish them. I am not letting that person get up. Okay. I'm not letting that person get up. I'm not giving them a chance to get up and beat me. I am going to step on their throat. Okay. Because that's the killer mentality. Right. And I don't care if she's a little girl. That's the killer mentality. And the chat that I have with my kids is called Killer Champions. It's Killer Champions. They're killers. They're killers. And you get that this Peterson guy, what's his first name? This speaker, this Peterson guy says, hey, I gotta tell you who he is. You have to listen to some of the stuff. Something Peterson. He's a Canadian guy, professor. It says it's okay to be ruthless. It's okay to want to win. It's okay to want to beat somebody else up. You know what I'm saying? And beat and create. It's okay to create killers. It's okay in society. And there's a saying that I almost live by. right? With specifically with my son, with the whole martial arts thing, but it's, I rather have a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
So I'm raising these kids to be the warrior in the garden. So if they're in a garden, then fine. But if they're in a war, they're going to be prepared for it.
Well, I mean, I think that maybe because I think that some of this is going to seem very, very shocking to some people, and I think the question to my mind that kind of ties this together is this: is society better if people aren't the best version of themselves they can possibly be? Is the world a better place if we're all sitting here holding back, trying not to, I don't know, show anyone up? Look, I'm not the spike the ball in somebody's face guy. But I'll tell you what, whenever I play ball, there was nothing left that I held that. I mean, I practiced longer. I did everything I could to get any edge, and we did not let up. If we were winning, we were going to score as many points as we possibly could until they took us out of the game, because we were there to do one thing and one thing only, to win.
I'm functioning on the theory that you do spike the ball in their face. I mean, you do. You're competing against somebody. You know what? I tell my son all the time, that kid has, and I tell my daughter, that kid has to be terrified.
Oh, there's a psychological component to it. Absolutely.
They have to be terrified of competing with you. They have to be terrified. And I see it all the time. They get on there, the other kid gets on there, and they lose. We don't win because they're terrified to get in there with them.
Yeah.
You know
what
I mean?
No, there's definitely a psychological component to it. I mean, the stare down aspect of it that exists. For me, I've just never been one to show anybody up after the fact.
You're a lot nicer than I am. Okay.
It is what it is. There's different ways to skin the cat. So let's wrap this up a little bit for you, because we kind of touched on these, but maybe let's put a fine point on them. Overall view, real estate empire group, everything you've done so far, family, beautiful house, a lot of good stuff going on. What is the one thing you're most proud of? I don't ask easy questions, bud.
Yeah. I would say I'm just being a parent. I would say that's the biggest joy. Let's take that out because this is a business thing. Let's talk.
No. It's okay, man. It's okay. Yeah. It's not a business thing. It's one life. It's one life. And so that balance is a really important thing. And it's good to hear that, because you see how much you put in to your business, but your family, it's keeping it all in balance. You got to give it all, but in every aspect of life to have the kind of life.
The most fucked up people I've ever met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Most fucked up people I ever met. And I know that's not the case with you. And you speak, and that's why you speak so highly of your dad. I've heard, I don't know how many stories about your dad, and how many things are just engraved in your head on little things that he told you that have been with you for 30 years or more, right? Mm-hmm. That have just been there, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I'm most proud of is that I've been able to create a life for myself where I am not absent from my parent, from my kid's life.
Yeah, man.
People come to my office and see my kids here all the time. Yep. I've been in huge meetings. I remember one meeting I was in with two attorneys, and they were screaming at each other. And I mean, it was a huge cluster. And my son was there with it, sitting down, just playing with his little cars. You know what I'm saying? And I bring my daughter to work all the time. So I think creating a life that I am not absent, because again, the most fucked up people that I've met in my life were kids of successful people.
Yep.
Right? If you're poor and you're all living in one room, you got no choice but to be together.
Yeah.
If you're not going out to fancy, places and everything like that. So guess what? You're out there playing board games with each other. And you're spending time with each other. The most fucked up people that I know are the kids driving Ferraris to work, to school, and being raised by their nannies. Right. Yep. So, I've lost, I could guarantee you I've lost millions of dollars of business being a good parent, being available, and being, not going to this fundraiser, or not going to this networking event because I have practice. I mean, this week alone, I'm getting invited to a meeting that I have to go to. It's an evening meeting, which I hate going to. But I have to go, and I'm gonna miss my kids, events and stuff like that, and it drives me crazy. So but I rarely do that. I'm there. So being I've created a life where it allows me to be a phenomenal parent, and to hopefully create two phenomenal adults. You know what I mean? So, and that's not easy, guys. They're tempting to make more money, right? And to stay at the office later. Now, I'm always available 7 days a week, as realtors know. So, but I've done it in my terms, right? So, you want to talk to me at 8 o'clock at night, you could absolutely talk to me, but it'll either be a FaceTime, excuse me, it'll be a FaceTime or a phone call or whatever, right? Because I'm with my kids,
Yeah.
and I'm with my family, and in the weekends, I'm doing the same. So, that's, if I had to, I've created a life for myself that my business is still successful, that I could do both, run a successful business and be a successful parent at the same time.
And that is, if I'm going to circle what the whole know your shit brand, the close for life idea is about, it is exactly that. We do our business in a way that we have a business that we can be proud of, that we know that we've given it what it needs, so that that our business can be a component of a full life, a component of a life that we're proud of. And so it can't be all of our life, because if business is all of our life, it's not in balance. It's not good. It's unhealthy as well. And so having that healthy balance, closing customers for life, building a business, building a brand that you're proud of, but at the same time having it be a component of life and not all of life, that's how you really close for life. Doing business so well that it gives you the bandwidth, the time, the resources to take and live a full life. I couldn't agree more. That's a beautiful thing that you said there, my friend. So we kind of touched on this gently, but maybe you could give us just a little bit more of an overview. What's next for you at Real Estate? And what's next for Jesus? What's the next project? I know it's to be, the greatest real estate, homegrown real estate company in Southeast Florida, but tell us a little bit about that for a second.
Well, just growth. There's a couple markets that I have my eye on right now, that we're gonna be in soon. We're doing it the right way. There's companies that are growing faster than us, but there's not companies that are growing better than us. It's real easy to open up a branch, and I'm not going to talk about, even though my instinct and my personality is to shit on at least 3 or 4 different companies right now on this podcast, but I won't do that. But
your restraint is appreciated.
Thank you. There's a couple that I could come to mind that are opening franchises, that are opening, not even franchise, they're opening offices every week, but they're opening it with it's a house of cards. It's they put an agent there that that not trained correctly, not a real manager. My offices have real managers that actually care, that answer the phone 7 days a week like I do. And that's why we're growing slower this time. I grew very fast in that first, and that's why I crashed so hard. If I learned anything from that crash is, I'm growing the right way. When I grow now, I'm not going back. I'm buying these offices. I'm not renting them. You know what I mean? I'm putting real people that have been in their homegrown agents that have been with me, that have shown management potential. And they're in there, and I'm walking them through it, and I'm speaking to them on a daily basis. So when we grow, we're growing, and we will cross our 1,000 agent mark within the next 3 or 4 years. There's some big moves that I can't say yet, but there's some real next level stuff that we're doing as a company that's really gonna help us grow, and there's some huge projects coming within the next year that I can't say right now, but it's gonna take us into the stratosphere.
Love it.
Stuff that I've been working on for years and years and years, and it's coming together right now. So it's
phenomenal.
It's again, growing the right way, man, growing the right way, and having balance, and that's why I'm not going to get burnt out.
Love it.
I get a question from these agents all the time, like, well, how do you, when I tell them I'm going to answer the phone 7 days a week, and they're kind of thinking I'm bullshitting. Well, how can you actually do that? Right. Because I don't burn myself out.
Yeah.
I live a balanced life. You know what I'm saying? If one day I don't feel like coming to the office, I'll move my appointments to the next day. Right. Now, that's how it allows me to answer the phone 7 days a week. And I say it again, guys, it sounds real cute on paper, but answering the phone all day, every day, 7 days a week for your agents, that's not easy. The only time I don't do that is when I'm on a cruise ship, and I haven't taken a cruise in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right? Where
Me too.
where I forward the phones, you know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. We're both cruise fans, right? So I want to take a Disney cruise with my kids before they get too, they get too big for Disney. But it's living that, that balanced life allows me to be able to grow the right way, so I'm not burnt out. So so I could, how long can I continue to answer the phone for agents? I don't know, 700, 800 agents. I don't know, 1,000 agents. Can I still do it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Could be a scalability issue. Yeah.
Yeah, right now I can tell you that the way it's working, there's not one agent in this office that can't get in contact with me. You know,
Right.
it doesn't exist. So, we're going to continue to grow and grow the right way. There's people that are growing faster than us, but there's not people that are growing stronger than us. That's a fact.
I believe that to be true. Actually, I mean, I know that sounds hyperbolic, but it's actually, you've done the work to go deep, to plant the roots deep with your agents. And I've seen it firsthand, the efforts that go into that. I mean, the education calendar that you guys put out every single month is always quite impressive, of the opportunity to give your agents, and the fact that I know you personally ride their ass to make sure that they actually show up to those events, which most brokers are not willing to do.
Let me tell you, there's people that have left my office because I've gone on their ass about coming to classes, and I'm fine. If you can't come to classes and you want to be a real estate agent, then get the fuck out of my office. I'm going to be honest with you. If you can't put the minimal effort to come to basic classes to be educated, get out.
Yeah, you don't belong here. This is not your environment. It's not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. If people wanted to find out more about Real Estate Empire Group, find out more about you, maybe just find out how to get an amazing pair of glasses like that, how could they get you? Where would be the best place to reach you?
Oh man, Cadillac, that's one thing I've been thinking of the last couple of weeks. I'm glad you asked. So I'll make it official now. I think I'm going to open up my, I think I'm going to start using my Instagram. I know it was very hard for you to start doing it. I watch you transition into you being Mr. Instagram and shit. You know what I mean?
I have help with that. I'm not going to lie.
I know, but you're the same personality. Do I want to be on Instagram all day talking to people and shit like that? No, man. I want to be talking to. I'm available for my agents and stuff like that, so they know where to reach me on my phone. But I think I'm gonna start taking more of an aggressive approach. I just think it'll help me recruit and help me reach my goals. So it's official here now. What is it? It's an exclusive.
There you go.
It's a
podcast exclusive. Know your shit exclusive.
Podcast exclusive.
Yeah.
I'll start getting more active on Instagram. Start posting stuff. I think it's time.
So what is your Instagram handle so they know where to find you?
I don't know it. For now, they could go into your Instagram and then you can send them to me, I guess. I don't have it. I don't really have it yet. So
all right. So for folks that want to know, Josh D Cadillac is where you can find me, and I can absolutely pass you along to my good friend Jesus. Also, you can take the Ace Closer website has a way to contact me as well. You can see all the courses that I teach there and all that good stuff. Real Estate Empire has a great site as well, and I'm sure there's a way to contact them through there also.
Yeah, and let me and I'm not blowing smoke up your rear end here because you're here, but guys, if I would have had the Ace courses when I was, we talked about self-educating yourself. I mean, this guy that has read thousands of books. I wish you could share the screen here and put how many designate. This guy has every license that you can possibly imagine. He has done the work for you. Okay. Because when somebody writes a book, you guys got to understand something, guys. They get paid to write a whole book, right? But they might really only have 2 chapters in them, right? Yeah. They might really have 3 chapters in them. So what Cadillac has done has gone into all of these designations, has gone into all of these books, okay, and taken out all the fluff and stayed with the real stuff, the stuff you're going to use every day. You guys have no clue how lucky you are. It's like the Cliff Note on steroids on all the shit you're supposed to know for this industry. So whoever's not out there going through every single one of those ACE courses and going one by one and learning every single thing, you are absolutely insane. You know what I mean? Do you have the ACE course certificates yet? Have we done that yet or no?
Yeah, no, we have the certificates out. Absolutely. Actually, I've packaged them into groups for certification purposes to make it a little bit easier for agents going forward. It used to just be the 2-day class that had a certification, but now we have one for crypto. We have one for the investor side. We have several different certifications that we offer, just so that agents have something to prove that they've taken in the good stuff. So.
Right. Our good friend, Mr. Personality, Mr. Richard Barbara, said it best with the whole crypto thing. There's no experts, just pioneers, right? But if there is an expert, if there's anybody who has studied all the experts, it's really you. You've gone out. I mean, I know you have a meeting this week, that's gonna, take a bunch of stuff to the next level. So
That when we talk about that imposter syndrome, the crypto space is always the one where people look at me and they're like, wow, you know a lot. And I'm like, I figure I'm still figuring this thing out. But
but we all know everybody's an imposter. At least we're in a group full of imposters, and this guy's faking it and you're faking it. But again, if there's any class that shows what ACE Investor really is, what the ACE course really is really the crypto, because I mean, you are at the absolute first guy to get a class approved in the state of Florida, right? I mean, you are the meetings. I know the meetings that we're having and the stuff. And again, it's particularly the meeting that I know you have, I think tomorrow, the day after. I mean, that's high level stuff that people, that if we pull it off, right? Or when we pull it off, let's be positive. I got, there we go. When we pull it off, it's going to be groundbreaking for the industry as a whole. So, and you're putting all that knowledge into these people's brains. I mean, you're offering it. I mean, you got to be a moron. I mean, that's a commercial. You have to be I want this clip on your Instagram. You have to be if you are in real estate and you're not going through every single one of those ACE courses and one by one and dissecting it and going through all that information that you've gone out of your way to get all the fluff out and give only the nitty-gritty stuff. If you have not done that, you are a moron and you don't know your shit. That's the clip. That's the clip right there, Cadillac.
I appreciate it. I really do, Jesus. And thank you for coming on. Brother. And obviously thank you for the plug. It's always appreciated, my friend. Thank you for your time. It's been really, really good. And
how long we've been doing it? How long we're at right now?
Hour or so, I would say. But let me say farewell and thank you very much for your time.
For the honor.
And we'll see you again soon. Guys, reach out to Jesus. He's the best at what he does.